Welcome to Star Medicine Podcast, your weekly source for easy-to-apply astrology, energy, and divinatory practice to deepen and expand your being experience. Hosted by intuitive astrologer and Reiki 3 practitioner Jenifer Edwards.
Welcome, Star Seeds. It's Tuesday night, and it's 7 o'clock, so this means Star Medicine Podcast. Tonight we have a big show. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about the full moon in Aries that's coming this week, as well as Mercury's recent entrance or ingress into Scorpio, which is kind of a big deal for all of us. If you'd like to call into the show, I'll be taking calls in the last half hour. If you have an astrology question or you'd like your chart read, feel free to give us a call at area code 323-642-1188. Also, if you would like to have a question answered on air and you'd like to email me your birth information along with a short question, you're welcome to email me at starmedicinepodcast@outlook.com. So let's get rolling with the show. So we have a lot of energy happening right now, and I'm sure you guys have been feeling it. Currently today, the big aspect was Mars in Aries, which is retrograde, squaring Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn, today was the big day that Saturn went direct after its long retrograde cycle since May 11th. And so we went over last week what it means for Saturn to be retrograde and going direct. If you missed last week's show, it's episode 3. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube to get caught up on what that energy looks like. However, with the square that we had today with Mars and Saturn, Mars wants you to go, go, go. Even when it's retrograde, Mars wants you to push forward, has power and desire. And the retrograde motion of Mars is kind of making you think about where you're directing that energy. So there's a little bit of an impedance, if you will, in the action. It's like moving in mud or wanting to move in mud. There's a lot of resistance. When you have that energy square Saturn, Saturn is a titan. Saturn is very much about the passing of time. It's very much about karma. They call it the grandfather for many reasons, because it's about restriction, and it's about building things slowly, and it's about building things that will last the test of time. All things come to an ending and a beginning, and thus with Saturn. So with Saturn getting ready to go direct, as it is, it's moving very slowly because it's kind of turning itself around as it stations directed. It's moving very slowly. It won't get up to speed for a couple of weeks. But with that slow energy, that creates this push-pull kind of energy. So we're looking at Saturn wanting to make you stop and Mars wanting you to go. With the energy of the full moon coming, we add all these things together, and there is a lot of explosion happening internally. Feeling stuck, feeling like we're not being heard, having a lot of internal dialogue. Mercury in Scorpio also kind of propels this emotional aspect on the inside of us. This is, an aspect today where we're really looking at what our energy is going into and why. Oftentimes when we feel resistance with things, we really have to look at why we want the things that we want, why we're doing the things that we're doing, and we're not getting results. In manifestation, we want to call in our highest and best. And some of us on our paths are more interested in the material things, and that's okay. But really, the universe provides what is in your highest and best, what is going to help you to the next thing to move into your soul purpose work. And, sometimes our own wills get in the way or our own ego gets in the way. So if something isn't working out, if something just doesn't seem to get off the ground, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because it makes me feel important? Or am I doing this because it makes me feel good? That's the lesson of Saturn. And with that being said, I have a cold that I got from a cute little girl that I've been nursing. So you may hear me cough a couple of times, and I apologize for that. But I do have my honey lemon cough drops going, and I will be able to provide you your forecast. So I would first of all like to start with the full moon that's going to be happening on October 1st, which is Thursday, coming right up. This is our full moon in Aries. It'll be at 9 degrees Aries, and it will happen at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are still in Daylight Time, I believe, until Halloween, and then we will move to Eastern Standard Time, our Eastern Time, EST. But currently we are in EDD time. So when we talk about full moons, we're talking about manifestation. So in the full moon cycle, the new moon is the beginning, the spark of life, and we begin the waxing cycle. And as we come into the full moon energy, this is the biggest that the moon is going to wax. So this is the largest amount of manifestation energy. So this would be the time that we would want to really concentrate on getting our intentions out there. I know that when I was talking back on episode 2 about the new moon, and I instructed one of the callers to burn their list that I had them make over the new moon. This would be the time to burn any intention lists that you have. It's important that you make sure that you're burning them before 5:05 p.m. because right at 5:05 p.m. the moon then becomes waning. It's at its completion of the lunar cycle of the full moon cycle, and then it begins waning. So if you want to call things in, you want to make sure that you're doing all of your manifestation work before 5:05 p.m. So how is this going to affect each sign individually? Well, we have to look at each sign and look at where 9 degrees Aries lands. We'll start with Scorpio, just because I'm feeling the energy to start with Scorpio. Scorpio, this full moon is going to land in your in your sixth house of your sixth house of work, health, routines. Something you started back in March, and this goes for all signs because the new moon to this full moon was on March 24th, 2020. And so everything that you started to initiate at this time, you should see fruits of your labor during this full moon. So maybe you didn't take care of something back then, or maybe you had this idea that you didn't really get going on back then. All of a sudden, all of these reminders are going to start coming up from that point, from that time. Or perhaps, things are going to start repeating themselves. Like, you had a flat tire back then, and you were thinking about getting new tires, but you didn't want to spend the money, and so you've been kind of nursing it along, and now perhaps maybe it's come to the time that you have to get the tire. That's very simple terms. This could be applied to anything in life. But the same issues are going to start coming back up from back then, either because things are coming to a completion or because you swept them under the rug. You didn't want to deal with them, and so now they're being brought up to be dealt with. So Scorpio, this full moon will be in your sixth house. Like we said, it will be work, routines, health and body, small animals, healing. And you're going to see a culmination probably if you started a fitness routine. Like the new moon was right around the time COVID started. So with COVID, a lot of people, we were in isolation. Some of us took the time to really take care of our bodies. Other of us, we decided to comfort our bodies. And so whatever that looked like, it's okay. Regardless, maybe you put on too much weight, and maybe now's the time to reckon with dealing with it, or maybe you started a fitness routine and it's really starting to show because, 6 months is when you start to see your results. So Scorpio, this is all going to be around your health, routines, and your schedule. So if you're burning yourself out, look back in March, see if this was like the time that you needed to take care of things, and now it's coming back to you where you need to actually slow down and take care of stuff. Sagittarius, we're going to have the full moon in your fifth house of new love, creativity, children, and this is the house of the entertainer. So getting a new creative project, or perhaps you were thinking about dating back when COVID hit. and all of a sudden we're all isolating from each other. Now might be the time for you where you finally decide that you're going to go out on the town and you're going to try to meet new people. If that's the case, I'm very excited. This could also have to do with your children. So, if you have a family at home, this could be an issue that concerns your child. Look back to March to see what was coming up then, and it might be coming up now. It can always be a pleasant thing. It doesn't always have to be a negative thing. But whatever it is, it's sort of a repeat of what was going on this spring. Capricorn, we have the full moon in your 4th house. This is home, family, your mother, all the people you would invite to at Thanksgiving, but your immediate family. And to have a full moon here, maybe you're moving. A lot of times whenever there's planetary activity in the 4th house, we are changing our living situation. We are redecorating our living situation. The focus is on the people under our roof and the roof. So there may be things, maybe you're buttoning things down for the winter time, and all the energy is in that area. So with this at 9 degrees Aries, I would probably take a wild guess that you are getting ready for the season change, and that's a big top priority, especially with Capricorn, because we know how Capricorn likes to be ready for all of these things. Aquarius, you have the full moon in your 3rd house of communication. And 3rd house of communication it also rules reading, writing, podcasts, short distance travel, being the student, and your siblings. So your brothers and sisters are in here. Full moon here, something you started or wanted to start back in March is going to show up. So with that being said, maybe you're finishing that book that you started reading or writing. Maybe you're finally getting ready to launch that podcast, or perhaps maybe you're waiting for a very important communication. And if that's the case, you should be hearing something by the end of the week. Pisces, we have this in your 2nd house of earned income and self-worth. So whatever you started back in March, this will start to show fruits of your labor. Perhaps you wanted to raise your income a little bit. Maybe you wanted to change your job. Maybe you started your own little stay-at-home business back then, which is quite appropriate. And you were able to see some income coming in now. That's definitely a part of the agenda. But also the other side is maybe you weren't appreciated at your job or your business place, and you've been trying to figure out how to escape. And this might be the time where you finally decide that you are going to escape and you aren't going back. If that's the case, kudos to you. And I hope you do something that you absolutely love, because that's what it's all about. When you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Aries, this full moon is in your 1st house. It's all about you. And we love that, my beautiful Aries friends. So to have a full moon in your 1st house, that means that you had the new moon in your 1st house. So this is all about you and how you present yourself to the world, how other people see you, how you want to be seen, and what your roles are in your relationships. So I believe you've been doing a lot of internal work on yourself, if I had to take a guess. I have a lot of Aries friends, and they've really taken the time to figure out what they want to do moving forward, how they want to be seen, just to completely change the old, worn-out stuff that no longer suits them. Sometimes we become certain things for other people, and it really doesn't serve us at all. So if you've become the caretaker and no longer want to be, then this is the time to liberate yourself and set yourself free. Maybe that was a haiku, I'm not sure. But Aries, this is all about you. Spotlight's on you this month. Do know that whatever it is that you're changing, it is going to be hard. This is going to be a hard full moon. It is definitely a very tense full moon, meaning there's a lot of energy behind it. Especially with this Saturn square that's happening, there's just a lot of fire energy this weekend. So, if you can be introspective up until after the energy of the moon is over, I think you'll be much happier. However, if you do short a circuit and blow a fuse, there'll be some cleanup perhaps that you'll have to do over the weekend. But, we're always at the right place at the right time. So, Taurus, we are going to have this full moon in your 12th house of subconscious and religion. Well, when I say religion, what I mean is it's death before rebirth. So the 12th house is this mysterious house that deals with our subconscious and secrets and our mental health and how we think and how we operate. But it's also a very psychic house because it's the house where we leave our bodies, if you want to look at what each house means. And so the 12th house is very watery, and the 12th house is the house right before we start over again in the first house. So we're being reborn into the first house. Taurus, this 12th house moon is definitely going to invoke some feelings in you. So you're definitely going to be made aware of things that perhaps you no longer want to be a part of. Things that maybe don't make you feel so great. And that's really great because sometimes we have to feel uncomfortable in order to make room for what we really want to sink our teeth into. Sometimes we're doing things outside of our comfort zone even though we don't like it because we feel like we have to. You're going to either find out a secret or you are going to have a secret of yours let go. But either way, know that whatever comes to you in this universe, it's meant to help you on your path to your purpose. So there's never anything wrong or bad that ever happens. It's just the energy that exists. If you want to use the energy to your advantage, I would definitely take the day off. I know it's a Thursday. It's probably virtually impossible for anybody. But really kind of do a nice meditation. I love Kundalini Yoga. I also love Lydia McLean's breath work that she does. She's a breathwork healer. I suggest looking her up online. She's amazing. She's also a part of optimisticwellness.com, which is a collaborative that I'm a part of. Her breathwork is top-notch. Same with Madeline Giles, if you ever get a chance to check her out. Her last name is spelled with a G, and she's a very angelic being. Her breath work is amazing. But anything to get you out of your body so you can sort of experience the inner energy, Taurus, because you are so much in your body. You're very much, you're very grounded. It's an earth sign. So for you to tap into your subconscious and really look into your intuition would be very healing for you during this time, if possible, just to disconnect. And also, it'll give you deep rest because you do need restorative rest, and it's really going to come down to that. You may feel a little bit of a burnout. Don't make any plans this weekend, Taurus. Do what you want when you wake up, okay? Gemini, we're going to have this full moon in your 11th house. And Gemini, I mean, my goodness, you're just a social butterfly anyway. So the 11th house is the house of friends and social contacts. So Gemini, this is going to be a moving and shaken full moon. Chances are, you're kind of distancing yourself from maybe a friend or a friend group and introducing yourself into a new one. I think you're going to see some changing of tides. I think if you look back to March, you'll be able to sort of see that all of this was kind of starting back then. And this really has to do with your internal journey of who you are, and what kind of people you want surrounding you and holding you up. And so this is all a part of that process. I will mention, though, that the 11th house is a house of manifestation. So Gemini, if you are to ritual, this would be an amazing moon to do that for, to manifest, because this is the hopes and wishes house, and what we ask for does come true whenever we work with this energy in this house. Cancer, this is going to be in your 10th house of career. So whatever started back in March, it will come to a conclusion now. And actually, I have to say, so I'm a Sagittarius with a Cancer rising. And so all horoscopes are written as if your sun sign is also your rising sign. That's not the case. I have a Sagittarius sun and a Cancer rising. So when I read horoscopes, I read Cancer, because that is the accurate horoscope to tell me where the transits are in which house. So if you're listening to this and you only know your sun sign, please look at your rising sign because you want to listen to your rising sign forecast. It'll be more accurate. But with that being said, Cancer, this full moon is going to be in your 10th house. I have a Cancer rising. And so I started working more hours back at the end of March because prior to COVID, I got authorized to work a lot of hours at a healthcare center. And I took the opportunity because it was school-based and schools are closed in the summer. So I thought, oh, what a wonderful opportunity to squirrel away some money for the summer for a rainy day. Turns out that we had COVID, and then all of a sudden I'm working all these extra hours during the craziest time you've ever seen. So I'm incredibly burnt out, and wouldn't you know, this Thursday is the full moon in Aries, and I am no longer, after this week, going to be working those hours. So you see how that came from start to finish? But it could also mean that, you could be leaving a job that you're doing, changing positions in your career, hopefully for the better, or starting a new career, maybe just going in and doing something you absolutely love. One can only hope that that's the case. I know that's what I'm doing. So Leo, we are going to have this fiery moon in your 9th house. Now, Leo, you love the Aries full moon. So this will kind of be a very energetic full moon for you. 9th house has to do with the teacher, long-distance travel. This is the house of spirituality and philosophy, the teachings of. And it's also the house of justice and law. So anything that you might have started back in March would look like maybe perhaps you're graduating from a class that you started, or maybe you've been preparing a class and you're beginning to teach. Maybe you're going to teach your first webinar. Or you are thinking about traveling, which I think you can still get away with, but I think a lot of the foreign countries right now in Europe are in lockdown. I think they just went back there. I usually go to Glastonbury this time of year, and I'm missing it a lot, but I'm pretty sure that travel is hard over there right now. Anyhow, my point is 9th house. Chances are you're going to hear something about a legal matter, or you are discovering a new form of spirituality, which if that's the case, I really hope that you're enjoying yourself. Or you're going to be ending something. So maybe you're not going to be going on that trip and you're canceling it, or you're finishing your class and finally stepping up in your role as the teacher. Now, Taurus. Now Virgo. Virgo, this beautiful fiery moon is going to be in your 8th house of sex, death, taxes, and other people's money. This is the house of inheritances. It's also the house of intimacy. And so we are going to be really looking at what's no longer working for us in our most intimate moments, and maybe even readjusting and dealing with how we spend money and how we spend other people's money. Perhaps if you have a spouse and you've been dipping into the joint savings account, it may become very clear that it ends up being a discussion. This moon is going to be really powerful. I think I stated before because it is at 9 degrees. And 9 degrees is a very important degree in astrology. And it kind of takes the energy of the full moon and makes it boil, especially in Aries, because Aries is already a sign that is very impulsive in a good way. They love to do things. They're always up for doing things. There's the spontaneity. They're spontaneous. So there's always wonderful stuff with being impulsive because it's spontaneous. But it's very quick. It's very quick to come on, and the heat is hot. So Aries always comes in hot. So for you, Virgo, you may find out that perhaps money's been going somewhere where you didn't know it was going, or you have a credit card bill you didn't realize, or you really want to save up to buy a house, and now's the time that you're looking to get a big loan. Maybe you started doing this back in March. So this is where so we're going to be looking at finances and your intimate relationships. Also magic and taboo, because the eighth house is the house of mystery. So, for you, rituals during this time in the eighth house are going to be very, very magical. So I do recommend doing some sort of full moon lady stuff. And finally, we have Libra. I saved the best for last because who does not love a full moon in the seventh house? Libra, you have the full moon in the seventh house. This is the house of relationships. So, this might be the time where you say yes to the dress, right? These are maybe you had something happen in your relationship. You met someone special, and now it's going to the next level at this time. Or something was going on with your relationship back then, and it's coming to revisit. This is all about togetherness. It's all about who you are as a couple and whether or not you want to stay as a couple. So it's all of those issues all in one. If you're calling in, if you're single and you want to call in a special person, this would be a wonderful moon to ritual around that for you. This is your seventh house full moon of the year, which is pretty exciting. So that is the full moon roundup for this Thursday. If there are any callers out there and they have any questions about how the full moon will affect them, please give me a call at 323-642-1188. I think we'll break for a commercial, and when we come back, we'll talk about Mercury in Scorpio.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body Awareness and Self-Care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Green Witch Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.
Welcome back, Starseeds. I just wanted to let you know how you can find me on the internets. I can be found at www.thankgoddess.org. You can find readings, online astrology readings, also my classes and any retreats that I'm holding. I also do tarot online as well as astrology readings. And if you're in the South Portland, Maine area, or Maine in general, or New England, and you want to come and visit, I do see clients for energy work as I am a Reiki 3 practitioner. You can also find me on optimisticwellness.com. That is my collaborative that I'm a part of. I am a part of a 4 women's sisterhood, and we invite women to come and be a part of our circle. And so as a member of Optimistic Wellness, you are you have access to both of the monthly horoscopes, 2 breathwork circles around the lunar cycle, as well as tarot spreads, and we have our own community on Slack where we update daily horoscopes and community and culture. There's lots of conversations having there. And for my Star Medicine listeners, in the show notes after the show, I will put on the link for our free spiritual soul retreat that allows you to have 4 days of digging deep within yourself and exploration for free. And at the end, if you want to join, you can. And if you don't want to, then you have that free, wonderful experience. So check the show notes after you've listened to this broadcast to find the link, and just click on the link and it will take you right to your free soul retreat. So we're at the second half of the hour, 7:30, and I am going to talk about beautiful communication planet Mercury, ingress into Scorpio. Now, For you folks out there, I love me some Scorpio energy. Scorpio is a water sign. Scorpio is a fixed sign. You can never get them to change their mind if there's anything truer than that. However, they are the most passionate and can be the most devoted signs when they're working in their true self. They have a lot of power, and Pluto rules Scorpio, and the ability for them to become this sign to become a magnet is intense. And the thing about people who have a lot of Scorpio placements or have a lot of Pluto aspects in their birth chart is they crave that same intensity. And so when we talk about light and airy communication-based Mercury, very airy, very, very airy, moving into this very deep, magical, magnetized sign, words turn into emotions. It turns into this emotional sort of soup. So we can use this time in one of two ways. We can either be incredibly reflective with our feelings and really, really sort of analyze them and figure out why we're feeling the way we're feeling, or we can react to that. And I promise you, you can't go wrong either way, but you will learn lessons both ways. The last time we had Mercury entering into Scorpio was last fall. And I remember watching, because I am an observer, I'm a natural introvert, and I remember watching the people around me and thinking to myself, you know, this is going to be rather intense. And I see people getting worked up emotionally and sort of like sucking in other people. And if someone kind of came in and wanted to interject and give someone advice, it was the worst thing that they could have ever said. And then it turned out that they were the devil and the enemy, and somehow this person was mad at them now. That's kind of how this energy works. There's a lot of drama in this. Whenever Mercury is in a water sign, there's a lot of over-heightened emotions, and it's very easy to say the wrong words. So my advice during this, if we want to use this time for exploration and to express yourself, writing is the wonderful way to go. Journaling, writing down journal prompts, really listening to what your heart has to say, and then you can share it. This is definitely the time for poets and songwriters. Musicians just are going to have the words melt off their tongue during this time, especially if they're writing about emotional experiences and trying to put them to music. This is really going to be a wonderful time for all the artists out there, taking the paintbrush to the canvas or to the paper, because you're giving your emotions an expression that it hadn't had before. This is a beautiful time. I have a lot of Pluto energy. I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart. And so, this intensity is something that I understand, and I understand it in other people. And so when someone doesn't have a lot of Scorpio energy in their chart, and there's an important communication planet going through this sign, you kind of see a little bit of a transformation coming because their emotion is coming out in their words that otherwise would not. So how will this affect you? Because that's what we really want to know. So Scorpio, we'll start with you since you went first for the full moon. Scorpio, this is going to be in your first house of self and how you express yourself to others, how you want to be seen, and who you are in your relationships. So this is going to be here for 9 weeks as well. I just wanted to mention that to you folks out there. We're going to have Scorpio and we're going to have Mercury and Scorpio for an extended time because Mercury will be going retrograde on October 13th. We'll talk about that as it comes closer. But for right now, we're just going to deal with the regular Scorpio energy of Mercury. So when we have Scorpio in the first house, we're already passionate. We're already dark and brooding, and people are attracted to us, and there's something just so mysterious about us when we have Scorpio in the first house. And so Scorpio, to have Mercury rolling through your first house, the way you express yourself and how you express yourself is on the table. People are watching you. Really think about what you're saying rather than reacting emotionally. If something makes you upset, figure out why it's making you upset, what it is that is being triggered within you to have an emotional reaction. And it doesn't always have to be you, Scorpio, because I can just hear you saying that right now. You do have to kind of take responsibility for the way that you react and what your feelings are. So if you're having the same physical, emotional reaction to the way someone treats you, then remove yourself from the relationship. That's your responsibility. You have to take ownership of your feelings. Even if someone else is inciting those feelings, you're still the one having those feelings. So we've got to look at it like that. But also, this is a wonderful time to express yourself when it's well done. So if you want to be able to get your point across in a way that is liberating or conducive to change, and you can have someone see your side of the story without you forcing it on them, this is a wonderful time to have the platform to do that. Sagittarius, this will be in your 12th house. Mercury will be rolling through your 12th house. So you are definitely going to be thinking about old thoughts that you used to have. So what does that mean? Old daydreams, old things that give you peace. Definitely a way of thinking that no longer works will probably come into play. Also, thinking about old flames, that usually happens whenever we have this transit to the 12th house. They will probably show up when Mercury goes retrograde, but that's another story. Sagittarius, this is a wonderful time to spend time thinking about anything. This is going to be a very productive time for you to be alone. It kind of seems like an opposite of what we talked about with the full moon. The full moon is like a 3-day period. Mercury in Scorpio is going to be 9 weeks. So give yourself some space. Don't overbook your schedule. You're definitely going to want to be alone with your thoughts. You have a lot to think about. And, a lot of people love you. And they want you to be able to do what you love. That's my advice for that. Capricorn, we're going to have Mercury in your 11th house of friendships. So, this is a hot political time. And so, don't get into politics with your friends. Definitely do not get into politics. If you're going to give advice, make sure it's advice that you give yourself. And also make sure that you are giving advice that is going to be received. So, especially during Mercury and Scorpio, I always ask someone before I tell them what I think. I always say, do you want to hear what I think about this? And I give them the option, because if they don't, I honor it. And if they do, then they can't get upset with me. Capricorn, I do believe that is the way forward. Aquarius, we have Mercury going through your 10th house of career. All eyes are on you during this. So you definitely are going to be able to get a lot done. Work is going to be emotional. Emotional is not... You are an emotional sign. You just don't show it because there's a lot of air. So you have Mercury, that's an air sign, right? And you're an air sign. But it's going through one of the most sensitive, deep, and dramatic signs of the zodiac. So you're probably going to see a lot of things at work that are going to affect you emotionally. Try to stay out of the office drama as much as possible. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. It doesn't mean you have to have an opinion on everything, because I'll tell you that it'll come back. If you're sitting around the water cooler and someone's like, oh, Jane, da, 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 and then you try to interject, you're just better off not being next to the water cooler. This is also a very productive time for you. If you ever wanted to passionately direct your energy towards what you're doing, this is it. Aquarius is very much known as the humanitarian sign, is always standing up for the underdog. And you may become very passionate about that. This is a great time to write letters to your congresswoman or congressman, trying to move things forward in a direction where we have justice for all. You know, the 10th house is not only your career, but it's also the house of fame and status. So, you know, there's a lot of good that you can do here with your words in this area, and I surely hope that that's the direction that this energy takes you in. Pisces, you are going to experience this energy in your 9th house, and the 9th house is the house of law, foreign travel, foreign language, spirituality, and the teacher. So your words are going to take on deeper meaning. People are going to be seeking your advice. And you always have wonderful advice to give. The thing is that you never really take your own advice, which we could say that for a lot of the other signs too. During this time, you want to make sure that, again, like Capricorn, that you know, you, even if someone seeks you out for comfort or advice, that you really get their permission to give them the advice, because you don't want it to come back and bite you. Also, you might be thinking about writing a letter to get into winter semester. This would be a good time to pull it together. Like I said, Mercury is going to be retrograding on October 13th, so it might be good to make a couple of drafts now. This is a wonderful time to learn a foreign language, especially with Mercury, which is the planet of communication, going through your foreign travel, foreign language area of your chart. This is a wonderful time to learn something from another culture. And I think that you cannot go wrong if you do that. Aries, this is going to be in your 8th house. This is going to be amazing. So to have Scorpio in your 8th house is like, you know, all the things. It's a wonderful placement. Aries gets this placement because they're lucky ducks. But to have Mercury going through your 8th house, there's so many things. You can talk about money. You can get your finances in order. You can learn how to dirty talk with your partner, have better communication and intimacy. There's so many different ways Mercury can express itself in the 8th house in Scorpio. This is a wonderful time, though, if you do have a partner, to become a lot closer than you already are, if you choose to. Writing poetry to your love is a wonderful time to do this. Also, this is the house of mystery. So if you were looking to work on your clairs, you know, clairaudient, and the other clairs, this would be a wonderful time to work on your psychic abilities, especially if you are clairaudient, because Mercury is the planet of communication. And Taurus, this is going to be in your 7th house, so lots of communication with your partner. This is going to bring a lot of energy to your partnership house. This could be business partners. This could be your romantic partner. And this could also be open enemies. So I actually had, before I truly understood this house, because life, I had to live it first before I truly understood it. But I had Pluto going through my 7th house of open enemies. And I did not realize there was a job I worked at, and everybody there was out to get everybody. And it was like nothing I've ever experienced in my entire life. But I could never, ever do anything without being under a microscope of, 15, 16 women. It was unbelievable. And when I went back and looked at the astrology for the many, many years that I was there and the many lessons I learned there, so I'm thankful for that, I realized that, the 7th house is the house of open enemies. And so I think that's why it was really difficult. So for you, with Mercury there, This could manifest in three different ways. And through your partnership, having stronger communication bond in your partnership. It can also mean talks about, getting married, strengthening that bond in that way. It could also mean having talks with your business partner in the direction that you want to take your business for 2021. There are different ways this will come, but I will tell you, though, that with Mercury going through Scorpio, the texts will heat up if you're in a partnership. So make sure you know what you're texting. Make sure that there isn't a possible way that it can be misinterpreted. For any sign during Mercury and Scorpio, please just call the person and leave a voicemail message, because text will definitely be misread during this transit. Definitely. I will 100% tell you that. I see we have a caller on the line. Caller, if you can hold on for just 1 minute, I'm wrapping up 3 more signs, and then I'm going to take your call. Area code 770. So now we'll move on to Gemini, and then we'll take the caller. So Gemini, you're going to see Mercury traveling through your 6th house of routines and health regimen and small animals. So you're probably going to be doing a lot of reorganizing how you utilize your time. And when you are utilizing your time in a way that does not burn you out, and also exercising, that's going to definitely come up to play here too. Emotional eating, that might actually come on the floor. Gemini, it is important because you are able to do many things and juggle many plates, that you are leaving enough time for you to recover. This is probably going to be one of the big issues. Also, fur babies usually end up trying to communicate during Mercury being in the 6th house. So pay attention to your animals if you have them, and make sure that they aren't trying to communicate something with you. Cancer. This is going to be in your 5th house of new love. It's going to be in your 5th house of creativity and your 5th house of children, and childlike play. So it's important that if you are not looking to have children right now, to take precautions. If you are looking to have children, then get to work. But also, if you're a creative soul like I am, this is a wonderful time to really get the easel out, or the paints out, or start writing, and really get pen to paper. This is the songwriter's transit, like I said, and the 5th house is about creativity. So there's going to be a lot of music that goes through this, a lot of poetry, hopefully a lot of good poetry and not just horribly sad poetry. But it's always going to happen that way. Cancers, this will be a lovely time to really explore your inner child and remember the reasons why you are emotional and try to work through that. This will be a wonderful time to do that as well. Leo, we're going to have Mercury in your 4th house. Is your house of home and your house of your mother. So if you haven't talked to your mother in a while, if she's here on this earthly plane, give her a call. If she's passed over and on another plane, try to give her a call in another way. Maybe seek out a psychic or some healing, ancestral healing is what I'm looking for. Journey work would be great too, because the IC is there and that covers past lifetimes. It's probably a wonderful time to be able to express yourself and your needs in the home, but make sure that you are being heard clearly. Try to avoid arguments at home. Like I said, Scorpio is a very passionate sign. And if you are, when the stove gets hot, the kitchen gets hot. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that you aren't just fighting to fight, and there's actually a means to this. An ends to the means, is that how it goes? Virgo, this is going to be in your 3rd house of communication, texting, writing, emails. My God, make sure you do not send that email before reading it. Make sure you check who you are sending it to. Make sure that you are making yourself clear in a way that no one can misconstrue what you're trying to say. When Mercury goes retrograde, we'll talk about that more. But messages getting lost and those kinds of things. If you're sending something or doing anything on the internet, make sure you are keeping a copy, be a good time. We will revisit this, Virgo, when I talk about Mercury retrograde in a week or so. And finally, Libra, this is going to be in your second house of earned income and self-worth. So this is a wonderful way to put energy into being very passionate about how you're bringing in money. Self-worth, how are you talking to yourself? Really paying attention to your inner dialogue, how you treat yourself. When you drop something, do you always call yourself stupid or a ding-dong? Realize that when we are calling ourselves that, we're putting ourselves down. Even if it's in jest, it isn't. So trying to understand how we communicate with ourselves on an internal level will definitely come out during this transit. Writing, journaling through this will help you. And also, when we talk about earned income, this would be a wonderful way for you to start anything that has to do with, like I said, writing, podcast, anything that gets your voice out there, anything that gets you seen. So, if you can make some posts or do some advertisements for your business, this would be a wonderful time to do that. And that wraps up Mercury in Scorpio. It started on Sunday, which is really exciting. And I've already kind of felt the energy this week. This has been a really stressful week for me. I guess dealing with feelings that I didn't know that I had, and had them come on really fast and stay with me for a long time, which is very Scorpionic, so I'm not surprised. And, I would love to hear how you guys are dealing with this energy. I am on Instagram at starmedicinepodcast. Like and follow there, and please post about your experiences. I'm also on Facebook. I know it's easier to post on Facebook, and that is at Star Medicine Podcast on Facebook as well. On Instagram, I am on Thank Goddess, so you can also find me there. But I really would love to hear how you're navigating through this energy. If there's a caller out there that would like to call in, I have about 8 minutes left of the show, where I'm happy to answer any questions for anyone, or I can do a small mini reading. The number here, if you'd like to call in, is 323-642-1188. I'm really excited for next week. We're going to be seeing Venus ingress into Virgo, and we'll have the show about that all next week. If you did some ritualing or you decided to work with the full moon energy, please shoot me an email and let me know how that goes so I can talk about it during the show, or give us a call so I can see how your ritual worked out. I do want to tell you that the full moon energy is all about being in the female energy. So if you're able to be with your lady friends, even if you identify as a female, everybody together in sisterhood, this is a wonderful time to be in that energy and to celebrate each other. It's very potent. So, when we're in a magical space, we can definitely raise our vibration to do magical things. With that being said, I am actually going to sign off for now because I think that we have covered everything, and I don't see that anyone is around to take a call. So I'm going to end the show as it is. I do want to say thank you for everyone for listening. And, I love astrology, and this is something that I've been doing for 30 years, and I couldn't be happier sharing this wisdom with everybody out there. My goal is for people to understand how to use this energy to help themselves find their purpose in life, where it's just not waking up and doing just the next thing that, the next thing we have to do, rather than, waking up and being excited for doing something that we love. I really love this, and I really love helping people. So I'm very thankful and full of gratitude to have this platform. And I'm thankful to have you as listeners. So thank you so much for being here. And with that being said, I'm going to sign off from my cave in Brunswick, Maine. And I hope you all tune in next week at 7 o'clock. We'll be talking about Venus ingressing Virgo and probably some other goodies I come up with. Until next time, sending you so much love. Thank you always.